Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for Thursday. We just have a 5-gamer today. It's going to be a pretty relaxing slate, I would assume, unless we get some crazy news. We already have some news from Portland that's going to make the slate kind of clear cut as of now. But let's get started with the video. As always, if you enjoy the content, appreciate it for the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to follow me on Twitter for updates, that's the DFS process. You can check out Prize Picks. Use my code process for deposit match up to $100. I post my Prize Picks plays for free on Twitter, closer to lock, and you can check out the website if you want to join us. I will probably have a football video out for Saturday and Sunday, probably either tomorrow or early Saturday morning. But let's get into this slate tonight, starting off with the point guard position. So you have a couple of studs at the top, Curry and James Harden. Curry's still been in a bit of a shooting slump. He did have not even a decent game last game. 8 of 21 is definitely not Steph Curry. But overall, had a triple-double last game, so he came through. But with there being so many other good superstars, even though it's only 5 games, you have Jokic, you have Giannis, you have Harden, Durant. I'm probably going to pass on Curry's price. Harden looks better today just because there's not going to be Kyrie Irving today, even with Irving in there. Harden had a monster game because he had 16 assists as they absolutely blew out the Bulls in Chicago, so they kind of put a staple in the Eastern Conference a little bit with that performance. They're still going to be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference with them being all healthy with the big three there. Harden going up against his previous team against OKC. If you want to play that revenge in your mind, that's fine, but I wouldn't use that as a main point to play Harden. You won't see Kyrie today unless the team wants to pay some fines for him to play in Brooklyn, and I don't think they're going to start against the Thunder. But Ja Morant at 92 looks good as terms of a point per dollar play. He's been super solid recently without Dillon Brooks contributing in all aspects of the stat sheet. Plays big minutes in close games, and this one should be one that he can have success against a poor Minnesota defense. Drew Holiday is doubtful, and then you have SGA and D'Angelo Russell in the mid-range here as terms of like 1B studs. I like SGA more than Russell with Beverly back, and they still have Cat and Edwards, so you're not going to see Russell get you a ton of ball handling responsibilities. In the mid-range here, you have Reggie Jackson, who's fine, but his minutes have not been as high as you would expect recently. Like Amir Coffey's been playing great. Some of these games have been blowouts, and he was in foul trouble maybe in some of them, but hasn't really flashed his normal ceiling. And Coffey's is looking a lot better, and they might get Kennard back today if he's able to get cleared. But there's just a couple of guys that you have to plug and play here in terms of cash games. Even tournaments are going to be tough to pass. The first guy is Dennis Smith Jr. The Blazers, unfortunate news with Lillard undergoing that surgery. Maybe it's better for Lillard. He hasn't been playing up to his standards, and that's definitely why he got hurt from the Olympics still. But Dennis Smith is going to benefit because there's no Simons today, who's out for personal reasons. And Dennis Smith will probably get you 30-plus minutes. They don't have very many bodies. You're looking at maybe a 9-man rotation or 8-man rotation if they decide to not play the 9th guy. But Smith is just one of the best value plays on the slate. At shooting guard, you're not going to have Paul George. You're not going to have Kyrie. Still no McCollum, so Ingram is your most expensive guy at $8,900. He does give you upside, but he's priced where he should be. There's not a ton of value at that price unless he goes for 50-plus, which is possible. But I like Desmond Bane to bounce back. 3 of 14 is not what you like to see out of Bane, and that's something he hasn't done very much. He's been super consistent shooting-wise. Just had a bad game. That happens to guys, but I think he can bounce back against Minnesota. Will Barton is back, and he's $5,900. So a chance he could have even played last game, but they decided to hold him out. Now he's back going up against Portland, who's very thin on bodies. It should be a game that they're going to be able to put up points. Only slight concern might be a blowout potential, but I definitely still will be loading up on the Portland side with the value picks, so I don't mind going to some of these Denver guys. Klay Thompson is still on a minutes limit, but he's still going to be taking like 13 to 15, maybe close to 20 shots. So it does give you upside if he's able to get red hot, but I might slightly prefer like Will Barton just for the more minutes floor. Like he probably will get you at least like 15 more minutes than Klay Thompson. Coffey was great for us last game. His price tag has gone up to 52. He's fine, but he's not a must-play at that price tag. Going with a value pick here, you got to start with Ben McLemore, who's going to be able to shoot as much as he wants today. He's been playing better. He's hitting his threes this year. That's basically what you're going to get from him is hitting some threes. He doesn't contribute with the rebounding, doesn't contribute much with the assists. But if he's on the court for over 30 minutes, he's just going to run into those stats. That's kind of just how it works. But him and Dennis Smith are the two best value picks on the Portland side. Small forward, Giddey, Josh Hart look like good mid-range plays. Desmond Bane looks like a nice mid-range play. Same thing with Morris Sr. I like Middleton a little bit as well. Without Jrue Holiday, he's been playing a lot better and been facilitating with the ball in his hands a lot more. So that just gives him a lot more upside. And he's really been making the most of the added opportunities with handling the ball, with 20 assists in the last 2 games. Wanted to go with a mid-range play. Nasir Little looks like a good one at 56. He's going to play close to 40 minutes today. Gordon had a big game, but now that Barton is back, maybe a little bit less scoring responsibilities for him. In the 4 and 3K range, if Grayson Allen will probably start, he looks like a fine value pick. And you have some of these guys you can look to in the 3K range. Some of these guys on Portland that are just going to have to play a lot more minutes, like Ellaby at min price 3,000. You're going to see at least like mid-20s of minutes out of him because they don't have a bench. They have Ellaby, Tony Snell, Blevins, and Greg Brown and Watford as their bench because the backup center, Cody Zeller, is also doubtful today. So they're super thin on bodies. I think you can definitely look to Ellaby as a solid value option. But if you're going in the mid-range, I think Nasir Little makes some sense at 56. Power forward, like Jaren Jackson at the $7,200, definitely like Giannis at 12.3. This one going up against the Warriors, it should be a game that is competitive, and it's one that we see Giannis play 35 to 37 minutes. He does give you upside for triple-doubles without Jrue Holiday. Also will handle the ball more and get you more assist opportunities. So I like Giannis. I like him more than Durant. I like Jaren Jackson in the 7K range. The 6K range, it's basically more senior. I know Vanderbilt's had some big games recently, but with them all being healthy, it's tough to pay 62 for him, even though he does give you a big upside for tournaments. Maybe that's just like a 1 or 2% play that if you make a bunch of teams. The value range, once again, some of these min-price guys on Portland makes some sense if you needed a value pick. Toscano Anderson was super popular last game, and then he got you like 1 fantasy point. But for me, I'll probably try to get up to Giannis here at 12.3. He's not an overly deep position, minus a couple studs at the top, and Giannis going up against the Warriors, I think is going to try to make the most of it. At center, I like Jokic as well. He's 12.5 going up against Nurkic. Nurkic and Jokic have gone back and forth at times. Nurkic was the higher draft selection, but Jokic outplayed him 10 times in Denver. But speaking of Nurkic, he's $7,600. He had a terrible shooting game, just 4 of 13. He hasn't done amazing against Jokic in his career, but with them just not having that many options to turn to, not having their backup center, Cody Zeller, if he's not in foul trouble, Nurkic should be matched up against Jokic for as long as Jokic is out there. And we see Jokic play like 36 to 37 minutes in close games. So if Nurkic is able to match Jokic's minutes, then at 76, he still gives you upside because he's going to get you some assists, get you a ton of rebounds if he's playing like 35, 36 minutes, and he should be looking at a lot more shots today without Simons as well. So at 76, he looks like a pretty good value center, especially with Valanciunas being 86, so he's not much of a play for me. Still like Jaren Jackson at 72, and you're looking at maybe Covington, Adams if he plays, potentially. And if still waiting on some of these Brooklyn centers, but maybe you can look to Sharp if they're all out, who would start again and be a pretty good value at 33. So if there's no Claxton, Sharp looks like a good one. And then the last guy I'm going to plug in here is Jaren Jackson Jr. at forward spot. I don't know if Adams will play or not. If he does, you can maybe make a pivot, but Jackson has just been really solid for them, even though he's in foul trouble some of these games. Only played 22 minutes against the Warriors, but he still put out 40 fantasy points with 6 stocks. He has 6, 7, 8 stocks. Going up against Minnesota, a team that typically also turns the ball over at a pretty good clip, and Jackson gets you a lot of blocks with guys like Russell driving to the basket. And if without Brooks, there's still a lot more usage for these other guys, and if there happens to be a game that Jackson plays over 30 minutes with the way he's been filling up the stat sheet, it does give you 60-point upside. So he's still at a good price at 72. And that's about it for the DraftKings plays. Let's talk about FanDuel. All right, for FanDuel, starting off at point guard, you have Harden, cheaper than Curry, which makes some sense. I think Harden looks a little bit better than Curry. Ja Morant at 97. He's similar to those guys. I think probably like Harden, then Ja Morant, then Curry, if I had to rank them. In the mid-range, you have Russell and SGA. They're fine. I like SGA more than Russell, but both guys are playable. And then in the 5K range, don't have much interest except for Reggie Jackson. I think looks fine if you need to play 2-point guards, which you do on FanDuel. At his price tag, it makes some sense. But you're going to be starting with some of these Portland guys here, especially like Dennis Smith, 44. At shooting guard, I love Chris Middleton at 84. He's been getting a ton of assists, a lot more usage. Should be one that Middleton and Giannis play a bunch of minutes and have to do a lot of the scoring on offense, and they just get a lot of usage. Other plays would be, maybe Josh Giddey, Josh Hart, Klay Thompson at only 62 makes some sense. Coffee, I like Will Barton. So a lot of good plays here, but I'm starting with the Portland guys on both sides. And 41 for Ben McLemore is going to play like 35 minutes a day and probably take like 20 shots if he wants to. Small forward, I love the price tag on Giannis. He's very tough to pass up at 11.3. I like him more than Durant. I love Chris Middleton as well at 84 if you wanted to get to both of these Milwaukee guys. I think it makes some sense today. You have Morris at 65. I like Will Barton at 59. I think he's going to... He's a little bit too cheap just still for his role that he's been playing for most of the year. And then you have Nasir Little at 53. And then you have like Ellaby if you needed to go to a value pick. He's like $3,600. Power forward, like Jaren Jackson at 76. Other plays would be like Covington at 56 with the blocks and steal upside that he gives you. You can still go to Aaron Gordon at a good price tag at 52. See if Sharp is power forward eligible. He's 45 though, but he's still a playable if there's no Claxton and Aldridge today, but hopefully one of them plays so we don't have to consider Sharp. But the guy I'm going to plug in here is, if you wanted to pay up, it's going to be, for me, Jaren Jackson at 76. I like to utilize a guy that if there's no Adams, he's going to play some center, and you can utilize him at power forward, which is nice. And then speaking of center, you have Jokic at 11.5. Still is underpriced on FanDuel. But you also have Nurkic at 75. So if you wanted to save $4,000, I'd probably slightly go to Nurkic. But it's just depending on if you're able to get up to Giannis, which you definitely will be able to. You can try to get to both Jokic and Giannis if you wanted to. But I think Nurkic is just going to have to match Jokic's minutes unless he's just in foul trouble or the game just turns into a blowout. Because the only other guy they have at center is Watford, and he's definitely not ready for Jokic to go up against him. I think Valanciunas makes some sense if you wanted to go up $200 and then because you can only play 4 Portland guys. If you wanted to use do not use Nurkic as one of your guys and maybe play one of the value picks, that makes some sense. But right now I feel pretty good about these guys. And then Zubats is very risky because the minutes minutes are all over the place with these guys on the Clippers bigs, but he does give you upside at 45 if he's playing well. But overall, that's about it for the video. Definitely load up on Portland. Play some Denver guys if you wanted to bring it back. And then I love the Milwaukee guys without Holiday, especially Giannis and Chris Middleton. And if there's no Adams, Jaren Jackson against Minnesota should be able to light it up. But that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll catch you all next time.